This is Our Rough Draft, a podcast, real talk for real relationships.
Welcome to Our Rough Draft, where we share real stories from marriage, work, life, and the adventures along the way. We'll laugh, maybe get real, and hopefully help you spark some new conversations in your own life.
I'm Denise, the wild, emotional one who loves words and big ideas.
And I'm Tim. I'm the practical level one who fixes what she dreams of.
That is true. And this is Our Rough Draft, where we share the stories we're still living.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tim Waters, and I am one half of the podcast known as Our Rough Draft, along with my better half, my wife, Denise. And I've been told that I need to introduce myself to our audience, which is something that I wouldn't normally be comfortable with. I'm not super comfortable talking about myself, which, who knows, might be a bigger issue that we can explore later in one of the podcast episodes. But regardless, I thought that I would tell you a little bit of who I am, a little bit of my story. I think a simple way of introducing myself is to define exactly what makes me me. I am a husband to Denise. I'm a father to 3 amazing, incredible boys. I am a coworker. I'm a mentor. I am I believe, empathetic soul. But I also know that I can use 4-letter words sometimes to describe people around me. So I have to balance the two of those things out. Also, for a chunk of time in my life, I was a soldier and defined myself by that as well. And occasionally I've slipped into different roles, or I've had to split myself into different roles: coworker, husband, soldier, later on in life, coworker, husband, student, as I took on pursuing a degree at ASU. So I've always felt like I was balancing those things in my life, and I was always defined by some of those things. So that's just a natural way, I think, of telling you a little bit more about who I am. I was born and raised in Washington State. I was born in a town called Yakima, which, if you know Washington State, is kind of in the central part of that state. Lived there until I was 15 and had, for the most part, a very idyllic childhood. We were the generation of coming home when the streetlights came on, during the summer, riding our bikes all day, being out in the neighborhood, and honestly being places where my parents had no idea how they would find me. So I was definitely part of that generation that was, I guess, considered somewhat feral back in the day. We definitely created our own path and created our own entertainment. It wasn't until I met Denise and had an opportunity to travel to see her family in California, to travel to some other places with her, to travel down here to Arizona to see this area, that I really started getting a sense of other places in the United States, other states, other cities, other areas that I just had no knowledge of and had no frame of reference for. And really, I think, credit my wife with broadening my horizons, broadening my view of the world, and broadening areas that I had just never seen before and bringing those into my consciousness. I've spent a great deal of time in Western Washington, so I have a great affinity for the green, the mountains, the lakes, the water. I just loved everything about it, except for the 6 months worth of rain and gray clouds. So it was time to get away from some of that. For those who don't know me, or don't know me maybe all that well, I thought maybe I would tell the rest of my story through the lens of some of the values and some of the things that are important to me. From the time that I could work, only have worked for 4 companies for pretty much my entire adult life, from the moment I was 16 until the present day. And I think that that speaks to my value of loyalty and loyalty in the workplace. I really base part of my identity and part of my kind of sense of self on where I work and some of the brands that I've been affiliated with. And that's a difficult thing, especially right now as Starbucks is pursuing a return to office mandate. I'm finding myself with an end date to my employment. So I'll be leaving Starbucks and moving on and trying to figure out what that next identity looks like in terms of my work persona. I also am a little bit energized by that change. I'm scared, but I'm energized by the fact that I have a chance to pursue something different. I have a chance to try something new that I haven't done before. And I have a great opportunity really to create another persona, but to still demonstrate my loyalty to my job and those around me in my job. The next value is really related to service. I mentioned earlier that I define myself partially as a soldier. I spent 21 years in the Washington Army National Guard. I was deployed to Iraq twice, once from 2004 to 2005, and then again from 2008 to 2009. So spent quite a bit of time away from home, but was proud to have served for 21 years in the Guard and proud to do a job that I had thought about almost literally daily before I joined the military. I could not get this thought of service out of my head. I could not erase the desire and the drive to do something different. And so that led me to signing up in 1997. And I took the good with the bad, sometimes more good, sometimes more bad. But again, was proud to have done that for 21 years. When I came back, I volunteered with a veteran service organization and tried to continue serving in a way that was really meaningful to some of the very same people that I'd served with previously in the military. That volunteering eventually led to a position on the board of a veteran service organization, and for a couple of years was really deeply involved in trying to make the lives of veterans much better. Veterans that were transitioning out of the military, veterans that were struggling with that transition, and then once I found a company that was really receptive to the veteran struggle, I actually had an opportunity to lead a veterans affinity group at that company and was able to further continue serving veterans, really tried to mentor veterans that were trying to enter the workforce, interviewed a lot of veterans, and gave some guidance about how they could really improve their skills and improve communicating about their skills to a civilian employer who may or may not have understood. And so I took that work really, really personally, and I was really proud to do it and to continue serving that way. And then really the final thing that stands out as a core part of who I am is loving adventure. I mentioned earlier that I really hadn't had a great opportunity to explore the United States before I met my wife, but now that I have, I love the adventure of it. I've always been somebody that's been really focused on being in the outdoors. It's really where I can center myself, I can ground myself, and I've joked before that I can find God, I think, much more in the outdoors than in any church that I've ever been in. And that's something for me to say. I was raised Catholic, so you know that I really must have found something outside to be able to say that. But I hike, I mountain bike, I snowshoe in the winter, I cross country ski. I love doing things outdoors. When my knees were in much better shape, I've stood on the summits of mountains and had a great opportunity to look out over the world from that vantage point. Something that just absolutely takes my breath away. And I'd love to be able to do again someday if I can get my knees to cooperate. So that sense of adventure is really key for me. I've found incredible moments of peace and tranquility in the outdoors. I have also had some of my worst injuries in the outdoors, mostly related to falling off my bike, hitting my head, cracking an elbow, the typical things that happen when you push it a little bit too far and a little bit too hard. So that's a little bit more about who I am. We'll, I'm sure, get deeper into the stories as the podcasts unfold. But like I said at the beginning, if there's any questions you have, if there's anything else you want to know about myself or Denise, as we tell these stories and share our experiences, don't hesitate to reach out. We're always more than happy to answer questions, and we love hearing from people as they listen to the stories and as they come along on this journey with us. Stay tuned for more of our rough draft. Please tune in when new episodes drop and let us know what you'd like to hear more of or different in the future. We're always happy to take suggestions as well. So that's it for now. We'll catch you again soon, and thanks for listening.
Oh, oh.